Because if you get good returns on large sums of money, that's
Yo, yo,
actually
yo.
the same as getting spectacular returns on
On the
smaller
small.
amounts of money.
Yeah, it's a risk mitigation. Right.
Yep.
It's one of those things. I had this conversation with Mike all the time. He's like, "Look, you did 1,000%. You did 2,000%. Why didn't you put 500,000? Why didn't you put?"
Yo.
Mike,
Okay, let me
it's
see.
risk mitigation.
Oh no, the
Like,
computer shit
yeah,
too
we can
loud.
get 1,000%. We're gonna put this amount of money in and watch it grow. Now we're not just doing that one time. We're gonna do that in a bunch of strong companies and watch it grow. This is how you build a portfolio. But I understand it. It's like you see some of these astronomical gains and like two things happen.
Yo, yo, yo.
Oh, I should have invested more. Or damn,
Yo, yo, yo.
why did I invest?
Oh,
Right?
good.
Like you can't
Market
take both
Mondays.
sides of it, so you have to have risk
420,
mitigation,
26.
especially when you're trading options, you're trading futures, and you can see some of these astronomical gains. It looks great until it doesn't go in the direction you want, and then you're like, why did I do that?
In addition to, your bet sizes need to be the same. Because the trade off is like you gotta have conviction in the trades and investments you're making. One of the worst feelings is to put $100 on something that goes 2,200%. Like you, one way to stop from having FOMO on either way is trade in the futures market the same amount of contracts, or dollar wise put the same amount in every single trade. It's an easy way to prevent you from blowing up your account. But when you have conviction, you gotta put some size on. And the same bet at every single time.
The volume good. It ain't too loud.
That's stressing too.
Yeah, you
Man, we
spot
good.
on. I'm gonna keep it real. I did this with Apple maybe a year ago, 2 years ago.
Good eats.
It was like $4,000 that was just in the account. I was like, I'm gonna put it in the Apple Pool. That 4,000, I think it gained like 900%, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh.
Wow, yeah, what did I do? Yep.
What is that? But you know, you live and you learn.
You live and you learn. And the great part is, like, from these mistakes, this is where you get all your lessons. A lot of times people ask me, like, how did you get this insight? I'm like, it's from being active and writing down the mistakes.
Chicken meatballs.
Once you have a system in place,
Squash,
the
zucchini.
system really comes from the F-ups you had early on and wish you could redo them over.
Squash, zucchini, and two types of squash. Butternut squash and then the yellow squash.
And it's objective.
Zucchini.
In the back of my mind, I'm
Bed of rice. Rice pilaf.
By making a profit, but you know that there was something greater there.
Yeah, on the table.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about relationships too, just to kind of detour, because I definitely got to give a congratulations to Nas for opening the new restaurant. And
Facts.
you know, at some point in time, we probably will be actually fully explaining our whole, because there is a strategy to relationship building. It's not random, and if you do it consistently,
It's not random.
It's like anything. You can get lucky once or twice, but you can't get lucky for 7 years straight. So there is a very
Be right back.
specific set strategy.
What's the strategy, Rashad? Audience, I got you. What's the strategy?
Funny you should ask.
I wish I had more time. One day we're going
Funny
to
you
tell
should
this
ask.
story in full detail. But I will say this, man. One thing that I will say about Nas is that we met a lot of great people. Like as far we haven't really met anybody that was like an asshole that was like famous or somebody that we looked up to growing up. For the most part, everybody's been cool. But I think he has the lightest heart.
You can see that.
It's hard to explain. But he's a very lighthearted person. Like every time you see him, he's just laughing. It's just like he's like a teenager. Like he's a very like lighthearted, like telling stories, like joking. Like he's in a very good space in his life, and that's important because the energy that you project is the energy that you get back.
Absolutely.
So it's not a coincidence that he's getting involved in all these deals: the casino, the restaurant, venture capital. Like I think that within itself is a very valuable lesson. He's projecting a very warm, lighthearted energy, and he's being rewarded for it. And congratulations to him. But that's a key component to building relationships. I'll say that's one part of building a relationship is actually just projecting energy that would be welcoming to other people, as opposed to a very aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see it in the partners that he's selecting, right? We have the opportunity to meet some of the partners in Coke, in Coke Dot, which is his restaurants, which are going to do incredible, by the way. There's one in Vegas and the one just opened in New York. But seeing him navigate the relationships that he has, and then having his like day one people still with him, is dope. Because I mean, that's something very common and very familiar with our story, right? Like we still are the same guys. We're around a lot of the same guys that we grew up with. We're forcing relationships. People are seeing that happen in real time. And then when we see him, it's just like, damn, this is really a blueprint. This is really a blueprint. Even the rooms that he's cultivating, I mean, it's phenomenal. And he fits in every setting, which is kudos to him.
So it's good to see, because a lot of times, especially shout out to Dame, that's the brother. Dame, that's the brother. But
Always.
that's the other side of it, as far as like a very aggressive CEO type person. A lot of times people think that that's how you have to be successful. It's like very aggressive, very, loud, very, and that does work for some people, but it's good to see when the other side wins too. Somebody that's very humble, very, mild-mannered, very warm-hearted.
Kind.
There's people like that win a lot in business, and the people that's loud, they get highlighted a lot, but most of the really, really successful people, there's more people like that than like the Donald Trump and like the loud, obnoxious. There are people that's like that are successful, but when you're chasing your dreams, don't try to be somebody that you're not. It's okay to be a good human being.
It's better to
So
take
shout out to Nas.
Let's go.
Troy, Rashad gave one tip. What's the second tip you would give to building relationships worth more than money? Back to you.
I think treating everybody with the same amount of respect as the leader of the company or the leader of the business. We're just as cool with Jeff and Peter and the entire team as we are with Nas. Now, obviously, we looked up to Nas our entire lives. I mean, on record, I said this is the first guy I wanted to be like in my entire life. But it's important to show the other people around him how much you care about them, how much you value them, because they're in contact with that person more than you are. And we know that Fat Joe said the same thing. Shout out to Rich. He was like, look, anybody that treats Rich any differently than they treat me, I can't keep them around. Because they've only been meant to be around me. And so you learn that very early. You respect and give value and show, commonality in those people. And then they'll say, look, those guys, those are genuine guys. I love being around these guys. And everybody says the same thing. When we come around, like, I love those guys. We got to protect those guys. It's because we treat everybody with the same amount of respect.
I love it.
Good?
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, shout out to them. The still's opening. February, April 28th. April 28th, I think they
Oh, it's
open.
probably around the corner. Okay.
Yeah, so like 2 weeks. So shout out to them again.
Sir, okay. What is the oil surge strategy?
I'm not going to say you should stop trading oil, but I think a lot of people are looking to make an amazing move on, especially in the futures market. And I think even though they keep flip-flopping, I think the world is getting adjusted to Donald Trump's manipulation of the market. So I think we may have another 2 months of this oil trade, but I really want you to focus on the ES, NASDAQ, and Dow. Even though consumer confidence is probably at one of the lowest levels since probably 08, 09, the market has been on a tear.
Kind of getting immune to
We're
the
hitting
fluctuation.
all-time highs, and I don't want you, like, I know someone who personally took their
Immune
money
to the
out of
uncertainty.
S&P and out of tech and moved it into crude.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I get the concern. It's like, well, if I can time this right. And I'm like, because of the big short, I think everyone's looking for an amazing short, opposed to realizing you're going to make a lot more money trading, looking for a bull market and being invested long term as well. So the crude surge strategy is I would not rotate your money out of tech, out of
No way.
the S&P 500, whether you're trading, whether you're swing trading, you're doing options. Look for the ES long term, and if you just compare on volume, even though we've had a considerable incline in talk about the crude market, the volume doesn't match the S&P 500 at all.
Yeah, I ain't even
So,
looking at the volume though.
Stay focused on what's thriving and what's doing well. And this is one thing I love about the futures market. You can trade the same asset over and over again and get the same return out of it. But a lot of people are making a mistake and going so hard into energy at the wrong time. Stay focused on the ES, NASDAQ, Dow for long term, because I think we may only have 2 or 3 more months of this crude trade anyway.
You shouldn't
And I'll say this too.
rotate out of the leaders to go to
That's the bro. AZ.
oil.
My contractor, he went like 2 weeks ago when all this was happening. He was telling me, he was like, sell all your stocks and just buy real estate. He's like, yo, the world is about to crash. Like, this is not going to happen. He's like, real estate is the only thing. It's the only thing that can really the real estate people, that's the same argument. It's like, it's tangible. If all else fails,
It's always the stock market, not to cut you off. Every major company, you can drive past the fucking building and see the shit in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get tired of that though.
So he was telling me, so then his son, he was saying, he told his son the same thing, like, look, take your money
Don't
out of the
sell
stock market,
out of
buy real
stocks.
estate. He was heavy. He's like, yo, this is prophecy. Prophecy will be fulfilled. It's kind of hard to time prophecy. That's the only thing about it.
Unless you me, but this market time soon.
Oh, you got the prophecy timer too?
That's the crystal ball.
You got the prophecy on my first joint, y'all all laid out.
No, I'm talking religious prophecy in the world times.
If we're gonna be very honest, the crystal ball is powered by God. That's the part that's not talked about.
But do you have the time? Do you have the end of world? Do you have the end of world calculator?
Powered by God.
Polymarket.
Are we talking about our universe or parallel ones?
This guy's
The
the
multiverse.
the Spider-Verse.
What? So
Might tell you a joke, but I'll never lie to you.
that's a fact. So I'll say that to say, a lot of times, this isn't the first time that somebody has said something like that. Long-term investing, you have to be able to weather the storm, because put it like this: at some point in time, this whole thing is going to fall. But if you own real estate, that's not going to help either. If the stock market goes to zero, real estate is going to be screwed anyway.
They're interconnected.
So we all in this boat together. If it burns down, we all get burnt together. So I don't necessarily think that just jumping ship at every crisis is the best way to go about it.
That was my investment fact, right? Like, stay in the position long enough.
Emotional intelligence.
The great return. That's how wealth is built. So running when you see a downturn is not the solution. In fact, that's the exact opposite of what people with wealth do. When we see a pullback, when the NASDAQ goes down 10%, I'm like, they're about to flood. They're about to flood. Here comes the value. And you see, 2 weeks later, here we are. Right? So you gotta have that long-term mindset. I'll tell everybody, put your seatbelts on. Right? The market isn't going anywhere. The stock market is going to stay here. It will have its ups. It will have its downs. It will have a pullback. At some point, we will have a correction, a deep correction, right? Not more than 10%. But that's not happening right now. So we got to take advantage of it.
A couple of thoughts, if I may. For the people in class that says that's an old way of thinking when you had the coupling of asset classes and all the assets in the world were not muddled together. 2, any stock that's publicly traded, you can drive by the offices and then be able to see them. Lastly, because of quantitative easing, which is the lever that rigs the market to stay up, if you look at median home value increases since 2010 versus the returns in the stock market, the returns in the stock market are higher because of how much money they printed, how much tech companies were able to borrow at 0% interest, in some cases negative. And finally, I need you to know, no asset manager or hedge fund divides the asset classes. Please put that in check. When you guys went to BlackRock, you never heard them say, we're getting rid of commercial real estate, even though it's collapsing, part residential, or equities. You You just figure out the correct allocation based on a return. Put it in check. It's not one or the other. It is both. It's an old mindset that is antiquated when there wasn't as much quantitative easing. And for my real estate investors, I would argue, since you understand comps and comp structure a lot better, you probably will be a better investor in the market because you understand how BlackRock and Vanguard will aggregate and make a fund because you're doing the same thing in a residential neighborhood. But the answer is both, not one or the other.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the strength of the market. And a few interesting things I saw on Instagram from the group chat. So S&P 500 relative to M2 money supply is almost exactly where it was at the .com bubble. And then also the S&P, the .com bubble overall chart laid over the current S&P 500 chart is almost exactly the same. So a lot of people are starting to say this looks a lot like the .com bubble, and a market crash is coming.
With all the kindness and love in my heart, from me to you, from Xander to you, if you think a crash is coming this year, you're misinformed. Will it come next year? Yes. The great part about my thesis about people say, why invest in two index funds if they hold the same companies? Team Cook this up. I've always said for mitigation of risk. Notice when software stocks went down 20 to 35% to 55%, the S&P was only down 3%, and everyone was panicking like it was 1999 or 2001. I will say, despite the difference between 99 and now, is that companies, okay, think about it this way. I criticize Apple while being at 4 trillion. In 99, you couldn't put 6 companies together that was half as good as Apple's 5th competitor. The strength of the market is better because the companies are better. Look at Anthropic, and despite all the stuff I've said about Sam Altman, that's been revealed in the book that's come out and all the investigative journalism,
The book?
that company's worth $1 trillion. Anthropic's worth $1 trillion. SpaceX worth it pre-IPO.
Maybe two trillion.
Arguably, right? So the strength of the companies are better than we've seen, and you can't leave out Google, you can't leave out Lilly, you can't leave out. There's a bunch of companies, if you go down the list of Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, that are just are like some of the highest grade of company that we've ever seen. So the comparison would be false. And wishing for a crash does what for you? It does nothing. Even if we, let's say we drop 50%, you know, like if I can be very honest tonight, you know who doesn't give a damn about a crash? The people who've been invested the last 10 years. A 50% drop means shit if you're up 2,500%, 3,000%. Like the people who got an Expedia in 09, 20, they don't care about a drop.
What
That's
Expedia
why
is? Expedia is high as fuck.
like for you guys, started doing 7 years. I don't think y'all saw it in the next 3. Why? Because you've extrapolated what the IP is going to be worth in 22 years. So
Extrapolate.
I think everyone who wishes for a crash are only the people who've been sitting on the sideline.
I think I'll say this. I'll say that they do care if there is a crash, from the standpoint of great. Here comes a new entry point.
It's a great time to buy. Yeah.
There's gonna be another. Yeah, I think the .com era is hugely different, and I think you kind of touched on it. But when you look at the revenue that these companies are bringing in,
Unprecedented.
When you're talking about
It's never
Apple,
seen before.
Nvidia, Broadcom, Amazon, Google, you're talking about Meta, $1 trillion company.
Yes.
And no, I mean Micron's not even a $1 trillion company yet, right? But we've been in this company since it was $100 billion. It's probably sitting at about $500 billion now. SanDisk is not even at $200 billion yet. There's so much more growth for these companies. The demand has not changed, and it's still at the start of the revolution. I think that's what makes it very different from the .com bubble. And we're gonna see every.
But that was part of a revolution too.
True.
The .com.
Other than at the start of this revolution, but the demand is there, and we're starting to see now companies that are about to IPO that are going to have some of the answers of how we now monetize it, right? Like I personally like Claude.
Same. Hit the upgrade, right?
The run that they've been on, right? Like I started out as a $19 subscriber to Claude Pro. I recently upgraded to a $200 subscriber to monthly. Why? Because of how I'm using it on a functionality basis. So that starts to tell, like, here's the story of how we can now monetize on some of the AI that we're using. Minstrel is doing it in Europe. There are more stories coming out. We already talked about Manus and what Meta's doing.
Minstrel?
So the use case is slowly starting to creep into the story. Quarter after quarter, we keep thinking, okay, well, the demand's going to change, the demand's going to change. And every quarter that we've seen, and we're going to see big companies coming up next week, the mega cap companies will be reporting. I know there's some that's going to be reporting this week as well. That hasn't changed, right? We just saw TSM. Demand is actually tripled.
Well, would you say some of the best companies in human history came out of the .com era?
A few.
A lot of them.
A few. I think there's more.
Did you see about going to work? I
well,
was
Amazon-
gonna say I'm
We're
going
going
to
Amazon.
about going to the airport. I was going to
Amazon
take
for sure.
Uber,
Part of
but
the .com era.
I really don't know.
I'm just saying Google.
It changed the world. It's comparable. It birthed some of the strongest companies ever. It revolutionized the world. Started a revolution. A lot of the same talking points you can say about the brand. Like .com wasn't like NFTs. Like
No.
There were a lot of companies that bust. The
Right.
AOL Time Warner merger.
But the key is why did they bust? Why? Pause. Because of the revenue, right? Were they bringing in revenue quarter to quarter to quarter to quarter? Was there demand for their services? There might have been a demand, and there might have been an influx of companies in the
They were
.com.
trying to create the demand.
Exactly. And that's the difference, right? So when we're looking at demand, we can clearly see it. How do we see it? Because we're watching it being spent with a lot of these AI companies. There's a reason why Broadcom is now almost a $2 trillion company. There's a reason why TSM is having this triple increase in demand. It's the reason why ASML is shipping up machines to a point where they can't even meet demand at this point. And that's just from the AI infrastructure. If we start talking about energy, if we start looking at the GE Vernovas, I know we're going to talk about a few other energy companies, there's demand there. There's demand for infrastructure. There's a huge revolutionary demand that's happening that makes it a little bit different because of the revenue that's being brought into these companies.
The question is, why did they bust it?
Hey, yo.
Pause.
You ready?
But Rashad, to your point though, I would argue even in this
Excitement.
AI,
But it's an excitement.
yo, I love the show.
Yo,
That is
vibe.
Mano, we need you. Yeah, absolutely. But in this AI era, there's a few companies I think that will suffer the same fate as some of the ones in the
Yes.
.com era. If you look, WorldCom was a part of that. Excite, Webvan, eToys, Pets.com, GeoCities, Netscape, who was acquired by AOL. The prominent players that came out of it was Amazon, Uber, Intel, Dell, Compaq went under. So you're going to have attrition, like the premise of
that's the line.
Yeah,
Look what you just said.
But-
You said Nvidia,
but-
Amazon,
that-
Google.
Put an asterisk there.
there was more death in that .com era and a bunch of money wasted. Though.
There's
This
gonna
prior,
be a lot of death in this era too.
I-
The strong companies, the cream always gonna rise to the top.
I'll ask
There
this
was a
question.
lot of great rappers in New York in the '90s, but there was 10,000 rappers in New York that never made that was a bust.
Are you putting Nvidia because it IPO'd during that era? Because of
Nvidia was not a darling in the 2000s.
right, it's not
But it came out of that era.
It came out of that. And you can argue there were probably 4 to 5 great companies versus, my math maybe, I think it was 122
What's the years
companies.
for- what are we saying the years are for the .com era? 99, well 96.
Let's go 96 to 2000, well pre-World Trade Center, so 2001.
Yeah, so then Google doesn't IPO to 2006. Right, so we don't. Meta's 2012.
We didn't say Meta. Meta's a social
No, I'm
media.
saying, but
Meta's a social media company. Google is a .com company.
Google's 2006. So
Yeah, because the .com era technically is 95 to 2000.
Yeah.
It was like when we were in high school.
2001
Yeah,
is
so I
like,
guess-
all right,
Intel,
you out here.
Just after the,
Microsoft didn't
well, I
fit
don't know.
Microsoft IPO.
Like,
And a company like Dell.
The ones on the left.
Dell has completely changed their
Ooh,
business.
IPO in 06.
Right? And we were talking about this company a year ago, and I said, look, this is not the Dell computers that you thought. This is an AI story now, right? They're doing the racks. They're figuring out how they're going to manage and utilize AI to the point now they hit a 52-week high today.
Yeah.
Like that was a company that you wouldn't even think of when you were talking about it. And now there is a craze, so that some companies will not make it, right? We saw Allbirds saying, hey, we're going AI.
You must say,
Look,
recession indicator.
that doesn't help our argument, right? When you talk about a company that didn't really move when they were selling their own product, now going into AI, okay. There's a case there for that.
But then there's also geopolitical risk that we can't account for. Because Trump is liable. I mean,
He's liable to do
the
anything.
Iran thing is still not settled. They just confiscated the ship today, allegedly. And Iran's
Allegedly.
they about to hold it straight again. And Israel broke the ceasefire, and FBI director is suing for $200 million. So the world is still crazy.
Geopolitical, we can't account for, but you can see the maneuvers that are happening to not offset, but kind
To
of
mitigate a lot of that risk.
mitigate it a little bit, right? When you start seeing supply chains getting moved, when you start to see infrastructure getting moved, those things are happening. But yeah, I mean, some things are out of control.
And really quick, because Rashad, I know you do it. A good tip for everyone here is to ask ChatGPT or Claude, what are the top 100 geopolitical risks that faces until 2030? A lot of people are getting ran into a buzzsaw because you're not researching.
Mm-hmm.
Go research. Spend your time doing the work. There's not that many black swan scenarios. There may be 12 or 13 black swan scenarios that can fall in your lap. But the other part is, as the gap between the have and have-nots wider, the greatest beneficiaries of that are the people who own the public equities and the stocks.
Yeah.
The gap is getting wider than ever. S&P is at 7,100. Like I remember when S&P was in the 2,000 range. It's at 7,100.
Right, and maybe 4 weeks ago, people were thinking, hey, will this get under 6,000? Have we bottomed?
Yep.
3 weeks later, we've hit an all-time high. NASDAQ is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Longest win streak since, I don't know, what was it?
92.
Yeah, some crazy
It
number.
was 1992.
Yeah, 13-day winning streak.
Jordan was in Barcelona getting buckets last time we had a run this long. Hold for the long term. A lot of you are going to trade your way to poverty, and I'm begging you. If you don't, I'm being serious because everyone's playing. Okay, even like I know somebody was like, "Yo, I'm playing weeklies." I won't say the asset. They lost 150 grand. I'm like, if you gave yourself time, 5 months, that same trade could have played out in your favor.
Yeah.
But the compression of time not being on your side is a terrible thing. And I know it is fun to see the high returns on the trading side, but the foundation has to be the long term. Then you go to the swing trading, and then
Yeah, the ETF.
Yeah, I
This shit was
went
at
over that
400,
months ago
350.
when I was talking about time decay and how that erodes
It's
an
12
options
now.
contract. Right? When you
12.50.
think about time decay, that's the amount that is going to depreciate on a daily
It's almost
basis.
4x
If
in
the
two,
stock moves
3
up,
weeks.
it's still decaying. If it moves down, if it consolidates, right? Like we had some Nvidia calls that the time decay just grew and grew and grew because Nvidia just consolidated. That short time period. Now, like we don't have enough time to get back positive in this call, so you got to take that into account when you're doing a lot of these weeklies or
For sure.
1 month, 2
I
months.
learned
out.
that the hard way.
That
Them,
time
them,
decay
them
is
short
important,
term,
so
man,
make
you
sure
got about
check
time.
that
You gotta,
number.
you gotta the higher
So
price
you
ones.
know,
You gotta pay.
Yes,
You gotta
sir.
pay
How do you say,
for the time.
Is it Iran? Is it Iran? How do you pronounce it?
I think Iran.
Iran.
Yeah,
Iran.
you roll the R a little bit.
Iran.
There you go.
There you have it.
Yep.
To the Persian community. Talk about the ETF that you talked about on EY University last week.
What the fuck?
In a number of these companies, Seagate, we've been in Western Digital. Well, I haven't been in Western Digital, but I know a lot of people in the community have. Definitely have been in Nikon since it was, I don't know, $100, maybe below that, 87. And definitely SanDisk, which is going up, I think, now 1,900%. So a lot of people are trying to get contracts and they're seeing wait, these contracts are really expensive. Some of them are big boy heavyweights, which means in our community that means that the contract is over $10,000 for one contract. So it becomes a situation where I can't afford the contracts, even from a short dated standpoint, right? Because if you look at some of the Sanders contracts out to June,
Shit's high as fuck.
it's $8,000, $9,000.
For
So
sure.
we always talk about, okay, well, what can we do and have exposure to some of these stories, these memory stories? And so, luckily enough,
ETF?
there's an ETF that was created probably
What?
maybe 3 weeks
That's
ago.
what I'm
now.
looking at XLK right now, but that shit was at 400.
It's
What?
interesting because
It's
it
at
gives you exposure to
1200.
Micron
It was
at
$400.
20%. But
It's
the
at
reason I
1200 now.
really like it is because March 24th there was a story that came out that SK Hynix, which was the leader in memory, so there's 3 leaders, right? There's SK Hynix, there's Samsung, and there's Micron. 2 of them are from South Korea, one's from the United States. I always said that they're going to make sure that they make American memory great, and that's happened. We've seen Micron appreciate it. We don't have exposure to SK Hynix just yet, but they're planning to IPO here in the United States in, I think, mid-June, maybe late May, mid-June. But at some point in the second quarter, they're going to IPO, which gives us exposure to it. Well, if we're thinking that the memory story isn't going anywhere, and all signs are showing that the demand is still there. In fact, Micron is sold out to 2027. SK Hynix is building a new foundry in addition to what they already have to try to meet some of the demand. How do we get to exposure to it now? You get an ETF, right? So the 3 allocations, the 3 leading allocations in DRAM, the ETF, it's a Round Hill ETF. SK Hynix number 1,
Drum.
Samsung
the
number
name
2,
of
Micron
ETF?
number 3, and then it does have exposure for Seagate, Western Digital, and Sanders as well. So if we can't
Round Hill
afford those
memory,
contracts long term, which they're very expensive, and even short term, there's some expensive, we can have some exposure inside the ETF. And
For
so
sure.
this becomes another one of those ways to invest in a company or have exposure to a company without directly taking on the volatility of how those moves. Because if you've been in Sanders, trust me, you've dealt with some volatility, but if you've watched how it moved over the past 6 months, you know with volatility comes some really high upticks, and we saw that happen over the last 6 weeks. So Drama is one of those that is now in the portfolio because the memory story is still very prominent. We still believe in it. I don't think this will be cyclical, is what everybody's been saying.
Yeah.
In that .com era, this was a cyclical sector.
They've been saying it's cyclical in them
Very
analyst
different
reports.
Very different now because of the demand that needed, right?
But
I
the
see
demand
TSM
is-
say the
is-
demand's
is
going up,
crazy.
That means that entire sector of GPUs, CPUs, XPUs, whatever processing units you can think of, they're going to need memory. All of them. And so yeah, that's what we covered. And it's relatively affordable. And so, like I said, the ETF just came to the market maybe 3 weeks ago. So we're watching the volume on it, but we do have some exposure to it.
Don't buy them 30s. That's the only thing I will say. The perk 30s, leave the price alone. Let it settle in both instances. Leave the perk 30s in drama alone, the perk 30s in real life. Wait for the price to settle. Because some of y'all going to chase it at 35 and get smacked. I don't want that to happen to you. Wait for the price to pull back and you'll be good.
So that's another thing with ETFs. The volatility isn't as great as it is when you invest in some of these individual
Yeah, well, it's in the 30s. It's high now. I mean, I'm sure.
Obviously,
Yeah, it was in
Micron's in
27.
at 23%. Is the fact that we have exposure to SK Hynix and Samsung.
Oh, it's new.
Well,
That shit
and
brand
we
new.
couldn't have that otherwise because it's a company that trades in South Korea and we don't have access to that. So this is the way that we can get access to it before it IPOs here.
That shit brand fucking new.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Corday. You know, at EY University, we got a thing where if you get 1,000% rate of return, you get a green jacket. That's it's like master's green jacket. So in the EYL University app, people have been putting their screenshots of the 1,000% return that they've gotten, and we're creating a green jacket community. And Corday, he cool. He's an avid watcher of the show. Salute to him. And Joey Badass is an avid watcher of the show.
Yeah, talk to
Salute
Jordan.
him.
Yeah. Jordan tap in every week, yo.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the green jacket is becoming a thing, and he was like, I might not have got the green jacket on. He did get a green
He
jacket.
did get his green jacket.
But he was like, on another one, he's like, I might not have got a green jacket, but I got a jean jacket. So the jean jacket is 500%. That's 500%. So if you get 500% of the jean jacket, yeah.
It was the rapper. That was the rapper. And I know they're gonna kill me. I said, DRAM. DRAM, if you're in that community, yes. But for the people who are watching, it's DRAM. This is DRAM. Yes, it's DRAM. Yes, I know. Thank you.
So salute to all the green jacket holders
That's
out
a
there.
fact.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and if you didn't put your green jacket percentage, go to the app, screenshot it, show us it so we can send you the green jacket approval, and stay tuned.
We got something special.
Stay tuned.
We got something special planned for the green jacket
Stay tuned. Numbers on the board. I put my numbers on the board.
members.
They there. Go look at them. I ain't running for them.
Tim Cook has stepped down as CEO of Apple. So that's something that you've been talking about a long time, Ian, as far as you advocated for him to leave as CEO. So the day has come. He has stepped down, and obviously that's that's big. He's one of the most iconic CEOs of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
Apple, one of the most successful companies in human history. It's a new day. It's a new day. A lot of people complained about the innovation, the lack of innovation from Apple. So, what does Tim Cook leaving mean?
A new era for Apple. And I know a lot of you thought from the headlines I was going to come in and gloat, but at first I want to highlight some of the things that he's done, because if you remember the day that Steve Jobs died, I remember my dad calling me. It's like, yo, Steve Jobs died. How you feel? He knew I was an avid fan. The stock was on a volatile tear. So he brought structure to a Steve Jobless company. You got to give him his credit. The first company to hit $1 trillion valuation, $2 trillion, $3 trillion, made that a $4 trillion economy, 1,900% return in 15 years, largest buybacks. Partner with Icon to kind of get some of those things in order. Apple Watch services, AirPods, and brought legitimacy to a company that was not well respected upon Wall Street before his tenure. As to the innovation part, shout out to everybody that I've had a chance to talk to at HQ today. One of the greatest parts that's tough about being the leader, and you guys talked about it at the top of the show, is the power of relationships. So somebody dropped me a little anecdote. I know you were on him about not investing in OpenAI and missing out on Anthropic, but what if, hypothetically, he just blocks from both? It's telling. He made some enemies along the way that may have prevented him from getting into some of these investments. So, greatest operator in our era, for sure. One of the greatest tech executives ever, built one of the best supply chains ever. I think he's leaving Apple in great hands. He's still going to be executive chairman, which I said he should be. And there's even some rumblings. He's positioned very well to maybe even take over as CEO of Nike in a couple of years. Talk about a hell of a turnaround story that would be if he can leave the legacy and build that infrastructure and take that infrastructure over to a dying American brand. So, before I get to my I told you so's, I want to give him credit not only for making Apple a legitimate company, but he was partially responsible for a lot of my wealth creation from when I invested in Apple very early. And I think he faced some headwinds and challenges that he could not get over. Now that that's out the way. From the bottom of my heart, a lot of times, like, people ask me, like, how did you come up? Even Todd was like, yo, you work for an agency? I was like, no, bro. Like, a lot of this stuff just comes from reading and understanding the life cycle. Like, even when I ask you guys media questions, you know something is a hit or not as soon as it's posted. I know I got a hit post when Rashad gets to tapping like that's a metric. That's something you just track, right? The secret to understanding how these things are going to happen in advance is literally just reading all day. And I said it earlier, the other part is prayer and discernment. You guys have it, right? We've met a lot of people that have it who can see things. But some of you are asking, how do you get the secret? It's like you have to do the things that you need to do every day to be able to get an edge in this market. And the great part with all this information, with Claude, OpenAI agents. The crazy part is we have more agents available than ever to help you do all the research, and I still see people not doing the research. Not those you, Red Panda, not to the earners, but I see a lot of people who are not doing it. So I think it was time for him to step down. I think there were a lot of challenges that he faced, especially with this administration, that were weighing on him. And I think he's leaving that seat to a very responsible person who's going to take Apple to another level and who'll be able to get some deals now that he wouldn't be able to. So kudos and salute to Tim Cook for leading Apple and stepping down.
No, but you was also very critical of his leadership. You were very critical of his leadership and the innovation, the lack of innovation, and you were very vocal.
And I was the first one on earth to say he should step down. Absolutely.
No, I got that.
Kudos to you.
But let's talk. You gave the respectful eulogy. But let's talk
What's
about.
up? He's going to elevated stage, chairman.
No, I got it. But let's get to that.
They want that same energy.
Let's get to that part of it.
What's the question? I'm learning. I'm an expert. Well, what's the question? 18. This is where you start the clip.
What were you unhappy about with Tim Cook's leadership? Why did you think that he should have stepped down?
If you're the number one, I think this is a common trait that we all share. All of great leaders share this. I think you have to have an endless amount of paranoia for losing your number one spot.
For sure.
Tim got comfortable. Was he blocked? So let me go to some of the achievements. Apple Watch, AirPods, amazing. Apple Vision Pro failure, Apple Pay great, Apple Music, Apple TV, iPhone X, iPad Pro, acquisition of Beats from Dr. Dre.
Siri.
And, Siri, amazing innovation.
But y'all said Siri was the worst AI. No.
No, it is.
Both of you said that Siri was
You
the
asked
worst
the question.
AI shit.
Yeah, that's why he said he's not happy with him.
I'm gonna do
The way that you said it was in an enduring manner of like that was an achievement.
No, it was on his jacket. Like that's on his resume, right? But it's also the reason why you're not the real reason. Listen, they did.
No. Let me have my little circle on. Okay, now I'm gonna give you the shit that you want.
Okay.
He didn't fucking innovate and get 59% of OpenAI and 30% of Anthropic like Google did. Okay, you want me to do that? Let's address it. Okay, cool, I got you. He fucking failed to do whatever he needed to do at HQ to get significant investment. He missed out on SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI. That's a huge mistake. In addition to, while being one of the greatest operators in the history of Silicon Valley, you thought Steve was toxic? How many people do we know that worked at Apple that have left because they're not happy with the current condition of the company, the innovation, work-life balance, or the migration of growth in the stock alone? For those you don't know, a lot of senior people at Apple have left to go to fucking Netflix and Meta and Anthropic. They're all over Silicon Valley. OpenAI. They're losing some of their luster. Now, of course, he had roadblocks from this administration, but some of it, like when people kept saying, well, Apple isn't the first to market. That's not always true. They are selective in which they're first to market in. I also think, shout out to my guy Drew, we've had this conversation endlessly over that panel. We're doing trading calls every day. The innovation behind Samsung, even when I said OpenAI is going to be the iPhone, that's painted to be true because Samsung is one in smartphones. Apple smartphone is losing its luster and market share. So, when you miss the biggest investment opportunity that will integrate seamlessly into your operating system, whether it's your phone operating system or Mac OS, if you look at ChatGPT and Johnny Ive leaving, even that, you notice that there is almost no mention or reference of Steve Jobs except that fucking theater they got. That's telling. It's telling that Johnny, who was right hand to to Steve went right to Sam to make the next product because him and Tim were not getting along. It's a fucking mistake. Empires are falling. General Electric fell apart. WorldCom is falling. I'm old enough to remember when AOL was the biggest thing on the market when it went public, and it fell apart in the Time Warner merger. In all of these scenarios, they took their foot off the gas and got comfortable and stopped innovating, and then here comes video. Got a whole laundry list of companies. When I see these market caps and valuations change quickly, I'm like, how did you miss on drafting them?
Yeah.
At one point, Apple had enough cash to buy the majority of the Fortune 500. You put it into bonds.
Yeah.
That's why I'm mad. And it's cost me greatly. Cost me some relationships there. Got my fucking account locked, but I'm going to tell the truth about anything else. To the audience, I'm going to say, listen the first time.
Listen the first time.
Listen the first time. You don't have to.
This was the writing was on the wall. I'm glad you said it early. Because after a certain point, the AI lag story, it was so overwhelming that I almost felt it was intentional. Right? I remember being on here saying, you know what, maybe they're smarter than we think, and maybe they're just doing this intentionally because they're watching everybody spend, and they have this boatload of money, and they're just waiting to figure out what to do with it. And the longer that story played on, I realized that maybe that wasn't the strategy, and they just did not execute. Which speaks to what and this is important in relationships too, understanding your strong points and understanding your weaknesses, right? So for all the innovation that Jobs had, yes, there were some innovation breakthroughs.
That was a ton of it. Like, the OS is great.
It's great. And services is his thing. And so when I look at him, I think two things. I look scale and I look operations, right? Because you did take it from a $350 billion company to a $4 trillion company. That talks about scale. Operations. Yes, the hardware was created.
Damn.
iPhone, right, the iPad, all those things. And now how do we make money inside of those devices?
350 to 4
You get iCloud. So he's put those things in place.
What the fuck?
What he lacked, and this is, I mean, it's interesting that John Turner is replacing him, is innovation, engineering, and hardware. So he couldn't figure out how you're going to integrate AI into hardware. Right? Siri, we saw Siri, and this is
15 years ago. 2011.
It is. And the fact that they couldn't figure it out, they tried with the Vision Pro, it didn't work. There was rumors of the glasses, they never came to fruition. Then we started to see them replicate what was already being put out. Now we're seeing innovation happen before they're created. And so it just became, y'all following. We saw Samsung put out their devices, and it's like, oh wait, we've already seen this. The innovation has stopped. And so this is more of a succession. And I appreciate him stepping down because he's realizing that this is not my strong point. Well, let's put somebody who's in there. So where does John Turnos come in? He is the Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering for Apple. Straight up.
Hardware.
Right? What did he do? He did one of the most important things in the history of the company. He said, you know that CPU, that company that we used to use, Intel, we're getting rid of them. We're going to create our own chips. Right? The M1 comes under his watch. Products and services become more operational, more functional under his watch. So he understands innovation, he understands integration, he understands hardware meeting AI. That's where he missed the mark. And did he take his foot off the wheel? Probably. Right? But he brought the company to where it is now, and now it's somebody else's turn. And so the moment that we're at now, and what does this mean for the stock? I think Apple's still going to be Apple, right? You're going to have a new leader. But they have an opportunity here now to say, okay, this guy has brought us to this point with his strengths. Let's bring somebody in who now can take the next torch of the revolution of what Apple will be. How do we integrate AI, which is going to lead us and is leading now, and integrate it with hardware that can be beneficial, that can be innovative, and that can lead us into the future, rather than seeing Google continuously do it, Samsung continuously do it, right? Huawei continuously do it.
Yeah.
When are we going to have our story? I think this is the moment where they start that story.
Rashad, you satisfied?
Appreciate it.
Good cop, bad cop. And I will say this. I think he's going to do a great job in handing off tenure and having an amazing succession plan to Apple, and I think Apple is going to see some of its brighter days. And the great part is, outside of maybe his leadership style, there's a bunch of incredibly talented, world-class people who are at HQ that have some amazing ideas. I hope they get to get off the
And
ground.
that's what this is really called. It's like, what is the innovation? What's the next gen innovation that Apple will bring to us? It's the most trusted brand that we have. Right? We still trust them. People. I mean, the products that are sitting on this table, majority of them come from that company. We trust the brand. But what does innovation look like? How do you skew younger? How do you get more people? Like they put out that MacBook, the new MacBook. I mean, it was cool.
It's cool, but it's not. I remember when having an Apple. I remember 2001 Indiana University. I remember when Ty and Kel Spencer from Jersey had the iPod with the touch or some shit, and it was like a luxury item. It was like Cartier's on college campus.
Yeah.
Like having an Apple was a status symbol.
It meant
Now,
something.
achieved scale. I think they could have. Even think about this. The greatest opportunity for Apple right now still is agents. There's a lot of talk about OpenClaw, Perplexity. The average person doesn't know how to set that shit up. Keys had an amazing episode. The main thing, hey, how can I get the prompt? I don't know what he's talking. How do I set this up? It's like, damn, he's operating at a different level. There isn't one operating system you can plug in now where you can just enter, hey, do all my work for me for the day.
Yeah.
That's the innovation they were missing. And with
And I
all of
think
the go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, I think that they have a clear advantage on that because they have all of the information on the data already. They have the calendar, they have your email, iCloud, they have your how many steps you walk a day with
Today, that was a huge opportunity.
They got the map, the GPS map, so they're in prime position. But I mean, they're up 100% over the last 5 years to stop. So all you gotta do is it's Brock Purdy. This is what we call Brock Purdy.
You think it's Brock Purdy?
Game management.
No, we need game
Nah.
exception.
Nah. They can't do game management. They're gonna get left behind doing game management. Game management.
I understand both perspectives.
Game management.
It's never once used.
No.
It's just, but they did miss a lot of opportunities. You can't like
That's what
tremendous
I-
opportunities
And
for
that's
sure.
what you expect.
SpaceX,
That's what you expect.
In order to,
Anthropic
in order to
and
have
OpenAI?
exceptionalism, you gotta be exceptional. No disrespect to this brother,
Who?
this new CEO,
Oh, okay.
but there's
Oh.
only a few. There's only a few exceptional people in the world, and that's why they're exceptional. There's only a few Mark Zuckerberg. There's only a few Jensen Huang. There's only a few Steve Jobs.
There's
Like
only a
those
few
people-
Sheryl Sandbergs. What made Steve Jobs incredibly great when things started to balance was having Tim at the right side. Tim was a master of operations. You need a master counsel around you.
for sure.
It's not a
Wise counsel.
No, I was gonna say here's the cycle repeating itself. Right? We had the innovation that led us. Operations came behind it. We need new innovation.
Yeah.
They teased the new products. We didn't even talk about it. I sent it in the chat. There wasn't even a word. Like nobody was impressed. That's a problem.
The
That's a problem.
AI agent should be their primary focus.
I agree.
That's
That's the
something
first thing I've let on.
It shouldn't be relatively too difficult to because they could probably have the best one on the market in a
Sure.
relatively short
Yeah.
period of time.
But the cost that goes into that. Can they produce?
They got
They're
it.
gonna have to spend.
They have the capital.
So, but then they gotta deploy it. Right, and
That's the
if
point.
they
That's
deploy it,
the whole
then
point.
you
They
watch
missed
the
a lot of
reaction
opportunity.
to
They got the
CapEx
capital.
spend from all their competitors. Look
They
what
said
it's
they
done
put
to
it
Meta.
in bonds.
Look what it did to Microsoft. Look, think about that. Think about what it did to Google.
Yeah.
Look what it did to Nvidia. Every time mega cap company says, "Hey, we're Amazon," same thing. I know they're rebounding now. We're spending more because we see the demand. We can see where the future's headed. Apple has never participated. They're not even part of the CapEx.
The boy said he put it in bonds. Gang.
Apple could spend 10% of the cash that they have in the coffers. Spend $6.9 billion and not blink. They got $66.9 billion in securities,
That's a,
bonds, and cash sitting. You're
What
not
the-
Buffett.
what the
Deploy
fuck?
that shit.
So And maybe that's what he's coming to do now. Like, look, we have ideas, we got innovation. I've saved the company a lot of money, right, by getting rid of Intel. We're gonna do this ourselves. But the problem is that method has worked for Google because they have other pieces of the puzzle
and play that they developed.
Right, we're gonna partner with Broadcom.
But they put that shit up fast too. Let me see.
Apple hasn't participated in any of that. So who's using M1 chips? Apple is. Anybody else? Who have they partnered with?
I get keeping it in the house, and also too, I'll say, I won't speak much on it because I think Tim should have did a better job in managing their relationship with Jensen and Zuckerberg. There's a lot of talk about beef and drama. We don't talk enough about the tech CEO beef. Tim had too many kerfuffles with too many prominent CEOs. And also, they're going to get their revenge back when they sit at the table with the president. His political leanings were not favorable to Trump, but Trump knew he was needed, but it also cost Apple a lot as well, not playing well with the other tech firms.
Good. Fell behind. New markets. We'll see.
And if y'all don't be in the uproar the next time somebody go take my talking points to CNBC, man, I was mad as hell seeing another dude talking about Tim Cook would be fired a year after I said it.
There's a pattern happening here.
For sure.
You still bullish on Apple?
Huh?
You still bullish on Apple?
Yeah, at least until 2034.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still bullish on Apple. Shout out to my man, Dan Ives. He said new price target, 370.
For sure. And the great part is he doesn't have as much press to worry about in the interim. He isn't a global icon like how Tim is. He'll be able to focus on the operation internationally and getting Apple back to the floor.
Or he could be a
66.9 billion.
Just kind of.
It's different because Jassy has margin constrictions, and the story on the lovability of Amazon is slowly changing due to work conditions. Apple has incredible margins, so they'll be able to.
Yeah, the margins are completely different. That's fair.
Completely different.
Let's talk about market manipulation.
Alleged.
Has the market become immune?
I didn't even read that earlier, and I said that the market is immune to that volatility.
Absolutely. I think even when people say you don't know what Trump is going to do, if you act as a world-class investor, tell me the list of business kerfuffles Trump has had since 1972 and how they approximate to how he's leading in office today. Claude would tell you every scenario for how this war, China, North Korea, South Korea, BRICS can go. It goes back to doing the work. I know it seems like I'm kind of pulling things out of air at times, but it comes from a lot of preparation. So, and the other part is, people only care about the manipulation if they're not benefiting from it. A lot of people are saying, okay, there's market manipulation, because they want to find how to get in on the manipulation themselves, going back to capitalism that I talked from last week. So, it's priced in. I keep saying, the market is permanently rigged to stay up due to quantitative easing, automated investing, BlackRock, Vanguard, and then people want to fight the trend. Don't fight the trend. You just have to be a part of it. But they priced it in. Like, these moves are so predictable now in crude, ES, NASDAQ. They almost are matching and rhyming each other week by week now. So I think the market will call and they price it in.
I do think that at some point in time when he's no longer we've never seen market manipulation this obvious and this blatant before, and it's going to change the market because when the Democrats get back in power, they're gonna implement new rules, regulations on stock trading, on government. There's gonna be a whole list of new regulation and rules for stock market trading, because we've never seen the blatant disregard. Like, Pooh Shiesty was disrespectful in his probation. He was very disrespectful to his probation officer by the things that he did. Trump is blatantly disrespectful. It's one thing to manipulate and and do these things allegedly. There's another thing to just be blatantly disrespectful and have no regard for any SEC law, anything. We've never seen this before, ever.
No.
Never.
No one has.
You could argue 1929 was worse. Now, I'm not doing it.
Modern times. There's going to be repercussions, and there will be changes to stock trading and investing when the Democrats take office.
But they front runner that 25. Real quick, Troy. They front runner that patent no trading rule. As a result, and truth be told, if we're gonna be honest, they may change the margin required. They're not going to change the structure that is the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange because a lot of their net worth and liquidity are tied into it.
Well, here's the thing. They're going after prediction markets.
Yeah,
for
They're
sure.
gonna go after prediction markets.
For sure.
Crazy. Prediction markets. They definitely 100. That's the first thing they're gonna go after is prediction markets. Because that's the easiest thing to manipulate. Because it's not even, you don't even have to have a company tied to it. You could just literally make a bet on something. I 100% prediction market. I don't think in 4 years it's going to be anywhere close to what it looks like right now.
I think it's worse. I agree with you. I had this conversation today. I think somebody is going to, or a bunch of people are going to be. This is going to be a criminal charge at some point, because, like you said, it's beyond blatantly disrespectful. It's obviously disrespectful when you have people that are making bets, that are investing or trying to invest in things prior to them happening in the market because of the knowledge that they have. I mean, we spoke about this when we talked about Congress and having insider trading because they're passing bills for some of these companies, and that felt really, really like unfair. And now you have the president like the Dow's going to 50,000. Oh, the market's going to have a great day today. Things like you just it's unprecedented, and it feels criminal because it is allegedly. But I think it gets worse. I think it gets worse because I think the point that you're making, the rules will change, and I think that retail investors, we've adjusted to it. We've adjusted to the pattern of ridiculousness. In a sense, we've adjusted to it. The rules change, we learn the rules, we figure out how to play. The rules change, we learn the rules, we figure out how to play. They won't interrupt it because they're making money.
They're making so much money off it.
They're making so much money that they'll try to change the rules, but they won't jeopardize themselves making money. I think greed is always at the root of it. So I think it gets worse.
I think they will definitely interrupt it because it's going to be one of the key things that they run on as far as anti-corruption. And just think about it. They were making money off cigarettes at one point. Everybody smoked cigarettes. They had commercials. They used to have commercials with doctors
on cigarettes.
Like, and then it just got to a point where they was like, look, we can't, I'm sorry, but it gotta go. And they killed the cigarette industry.
And what are those cigarette companies turn into? They turn into food companies.
No, you're always gonna rebrand, 100%. There's always gonna be a rebrand. I'm not saying that. You can't stop the money.
Yeah, they're going.
You can't stop the money, but they are going to target prediction markets.
For sure. They can't
Democrat.
I think
when they come into power, because they are going to come into power.
They'll try it by state, and that's starting to happen already. I know Utah senators are trying to figure out a way to curb it because they said there's no gambling in the state, and technically it's not gambling, but I mean it has some similarities to it. So state by state they'll try to do it, and there'll be a state that says, we're not going for that. We're not going for that. Then there'll be somebody saying, hey, I'm going to turn my VPN on. I'm going to be in that state. It's like what they do with sports betting. Yeah. I remember when DraftKings and FanDuel came out, and New York would not allow it, but New Jersey did. All right, well, let's get the VPN. We in Jersey. And you know who New York allow so much money to not be part of it. We got to make it.
And here comes Robin Hood to save the day.
Yeah, but there we go.
To stabilize the prediction. They'll probably be the vanguard of the prediction markets.
We need to have a company that we can say that we trust, a company that has been vetted, a company that's been here. Okay, we'll let them do it on that.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. When Mondani becomes president, we'll talk about it on Blackout.
Great prediction. Great prediction.
I gotta go to Polymarket to see the odds on that.
Speaking of Robinhood, talk about Robinhood's recent stock rise.
Yeah, Robinhood was a company that was when we did our top 10 companies of the year. It was I think it was number 10 for me because of number one relationships. We actually sat down with the CEO on a few occasions, but the most recent one we had a conversation prior to the interview, and he didn't say things, but he implied things that made me say, "Let me go and do some research on what he's talking about, the technology that they're coming out with, some of the things that can happen in the future." So I went and did my own research, and so you've seen Robinhood have an uptick here. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, they were announced as a company that's going to lead the technology for the quote-unquote Trump accounts, which means that every kid that is born in 2026 going forward has access to $1,000 inside of a brokerage account. Now that can be added to throughout the year, so you figure you have an embedded customer base for the next 10 to 15 years, however long they allow Robinhood to do it. I know BK Mellon is underwriting it as the bank. So that's number one, right? That new customer base that's been there. Then you think about the existing customer base that they already have. When you talked about young retail investors, what brokerage are they using? Overwhelmingly, when I talk to people who have just started, they're the common theme. I'll be honest with you. Most people, like I use E-Trade, I use TD, right? I have Fidelity. I don't even have Robinhood, but I see that most people that have just begun or are under 30 are using Robinhood. So you have the existing audience, you have the options trading audience, but if you haven't watched, Bitcoin slowly coming out of that 67 to 72 range, got up to 72,000. A large part of how Robinhood actually grows in its revenue is from that Bitcoin trading, and so if Bitcoin ticks up, you'll start to see Robinhood tick up. You add into it its number one revenue source, which is options trading. You see the market tick up. NASDAQ hit its all-time high. S&P hit its all-time high. You're watching Robinhood grow. The other part is predictive markets. They had a 300% increase in predictive markets in the first quarter. They're going to be reporting their second quarter results, I think, in the next couple, next week. So we'll see how predictive markets perform. Obviously, you had a lot of things going on in the second quarter.
Wow.
So you're starting to see Robinhood, which kind of was trailing on a downward trend, down to 67. Like, all right, I'm watching it. Here's his 400 day at 70. It went over its 400 day, not 200. It's 400 day. It reclaimed it. Perfect. This is the time we got to get it. So we bought some calls on it. And again, this is why going into the year, I'm looking at it saying Robinhood is primed to do something here, and it looks like it's on a nice rebound here.
It is.
Yeah, I love
$22 from 68, 70-ish to
change my
90.
stance position once again. Hold for 10 years, you'll be good.
And if Bitcoin take off,
position over the next
if
few
higher,
years, do incredibly well.
it's back over 100 for sure.
As a result, so even though they've had a deep dip, I think they'll be a-okay. I do want to address something too really quick that was said in the comments about Martha Stewart. She went to jail for insider trade. The Trump will suffer the same fate. Martha Stewart went for jail for lying about the information that she was given. That's why she was charged. Also, with insider trading, if you file the information in the confidentiality reports, you can escape some of these things as well. So will they change the landscape of it? Yes, but I think over a certain dollar amount. Like even if you look at the private credit issue, you don't know who's currently trading that because the volume or the dollar amount needed to trade that asset on the short is a lot. So I think maybe a few people in the administration probably will be charged, but the majority of people who make the lion's share of the money, they're not going anywhere. That's the part about capitalism that sucks, is that capitalism protects the capitalists through lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna go after his family for sure. I forgot Mondani wasn't born in America. Yeah, I guess he can't run for president then. Maybe that's why he said he wasn't gonna run for president. Well, there goes that. But
Democrats in trouble.
yeah.
You're in trouble.
I think they're gonna go after his family. Charlemagne made a good point as far as at one point in time Germany had a denazification. So after like they went extra hard to really like purge themselves of all Nazi remnants, people, sympathizers, all that. I think you're gonna see a demagafication of America, and everybody's gonna be like on the other side of this thing. and they're gonna go after Trump. It depends. If they get Gavin Newsom, I think he's gonna do it. I think Gavin Newsom's gonna run a hard line. You, huh? No, not a Gavin Newsom fan.
It's not that I'm a fan, but it's really hard to run
Yeah.
a country when you can't answer why the homes that burned down a year ago still not up. It's a tough answer to give. And if you're leaving, and if
The
you run
bar of entry of running countries have dropped drastically.
That's true.
It's a pretty low bar these days.
on one side, not both sides.
He's gonna get charged and he's gonna claim dementia, and I mean he's gonna be 81 this year, or 82 this year, whatever how old he's gonna be. He's made enough money. This is the thing with making so much capital is you can fight. You got capital to fight it. Made 9-10 billion. You gonna fight this. But who won't be safe is some of the younger offspring.
For sure.
Of his, yeah.
I mean, when the government, it's hard to fight the government no matter who you are.
I mean,
That put all the cronies in position.
And that's why they get erased. Now and that what you all said that. When we said that, he's like, damn, if Democrats win, I'm going to jail. Who said that? They said it at the convention. One of his top guys. He was like, put it in chat. Who said that? He was like, if the Democrats win, we're screwed. We're going to jail. He said it. They said it.
Keep hope alive.
And this New America Party, that'll be the death blow. Like, I'm looking to see, like, people really don't understand how big that Turning Point USA movement was. They're like the angel investors of that political side of MAGA conservative nation. If Tucker and a few of them get together and start fundraising, it's going to be bad for MAGA. I think a lot of the infighting is going to be what brings that down.
Yeah. That's Steve Bannon. That's what said it.
Steve Bannon. Wow.
You didn't hear what Steve Bannon said it? He was like, yo, if Democrats take over, we're going to jail. Like he said it. He said we're going to jail.
He won and he dropped the charge. He dropped all the investigations on him, right?
No. He said this recently.
Oh, I thought he was already facing charges before.
I know, but that's why he said it, because he got off. So he's like, look, if we can't let the Dems win, like if they take the House, if they do this, that's why he's like, no, like if they win, we're going to jail.
You know what one of Steve Bannon's biggest investments was in history?
What?
The TV show Seinfeld.
With Larry?
Royalties on it? Syndication's crazy.
Just read. The most fascinating thing, or just go down the rabbit hole, and a bunch of different, you'll see cross-pollination of audiences.
Cross-pollination. The show ended in 97 and it made, I think, an average of $70 million a year for 20 years, 30 years.
20 years, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Jerry Seinfeld?
Yeah. He was the highest paid. His show had been on for 20 years and he was the highest paid person on TV.
Was he dating his daughter?
Nah. That was Jackson. Nah. Yeah, that's
Woody Allen?
Yeah. That's too far. Yeah, that was Woody.
He did something. Seinfeld did something.
Allegedly.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on him.
Allegedly. What's the S&P 500 entry level?
Y'all want to entry to the SPY or no? Put it in chat. Yes, if in chat. If not, we can skip and go to the next subject. Let me see what the response
Entry
is.
to the SPY.
I was going to say
I started.
We done told
looking
you
at
already.
I just added. I ain't even really
I
look
can't
at the
be
price.
so demonstrative every time. I gotta balance out the good cop, bad cop. My next entry I would like would be 658.80. If you're looking for a quicker entry, and then if we get a significant pullback in a couple of months, I want to get into 620.84. That'll probably could land around the summertime. So those are the two levels I'm looking to get in. For everyone who kept saying I'm looking for a crash, we had one in the last 2 months. The market pulls back every week. Look at your weekly chart for your entry. You can use the 72, 200 day, 400 day, as I've talked about and given away before. So if you want to be able to do it on your own, but the most important thing that you can do for your account and your portfolio is just to automate your investment for when the market drops 10%, 8%, 7%, just to automatically invest in the market so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So the shit is easy if you listen the first time, but from the bottom of my heart with love. Investing is easier than ever. This ain't 1990s where it was gatekeeped and we didn't know what to invest in. Put in chat. It's easier than ever to invest. It's up to you to deploy the capital. Automate it. Automate it, please.
Please.
Sir, allegedly. Okay. Let's talk about war, recession risk. Is there a war recession risk?
I don't think the 2027 crash is real, but I don't think this war is going to be the reason why we get pushed over the edge. A lot of people keep saying this is similar to 2008 and 29, and the circumstances are different, and then also there isn't as much money. Like in 2008, there wasn't this much money automatically flowing into the market.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that the war alone is going to be it. There's more people looking to profiteer from the war and from the market being down than there ever was before. That's not going to be it. If this AI trade and that bubble pops and they begin to reveal some truth, like I'm looking at the data centers being slowed down, which they should for the environment. And if we start to see some of these companies go from 55% down to 80%, and then some truth starts to get revealed, I think we can have a fragile moment where we have a real crash. But the war alone won't cause the recession. It's going to be a combination of factors or a combination of swans that hit at one time.
Yeah, this is. You have to remember that the market is always forward thinking and forward guidance, and so the conflicts, the wars, yes, short term pain, but not sustainable throughout the history of the market. In fact, CNBC put a great article out today about the past 30 years of conflicts and what they've meant to the market.
Yeah.
On average, this is on average, the S&P has had a 1% return on average. 30 years of conflicts from the Gulf War, Desert Storm, Kosovo War, Afghanistan, Iraq, ISIS, Ukraine, now Middle East, 1% return.
Yeah.
On average. The market's forward thinking.
I keep telling you, like, selling fear around a big collapse is to sell books and to get viewership. That's not where the real money is made. The real money is made as buying during those deep trenches and the times when the market is falling apart and holding for long periods of time after that 5 to 10 years. That is the literal cheat code. So, like even a 27 crash, it'll probably be a short-lived crash. It may be 6 months, 3.5 months, if that. They're going to pump the money back into the market to rise up the valuation of these companies.
Okay. What do you think the impact of the new Fed chair has on the chances of recession? I think he starts his interviewing process. I think starts this week or next week, and everybody assuming that rates are going to drop. What do you think then?
If he has cojones and chutzpah to stand up towards who's appointed him, I think it won't be as bad. If he doesn't, I think it's going to be a bloodbath before the time that we do hit it. But that private credit market hit, and people keep forgetting this. I keep bringing up the private credit market. Most people don't know that the private market asset is hidden into your 401k. Up to 20% of your allocation, depending on which 401k you're in. So it can be that. Treasury market issues, like you said, Fed leader, AI thing popping, and that ends that cycle of spin. That's the only place where Apple may be able to benefit, is just wait and see and let every asset burn down and buy it at a cheap price. But it's going to have to be 3 or 4 of these things that hit at the same time. It's not going to be it's not going to just be one thing. there's too many levers in place by the Fed and international banks to stop these things from causing a global recession. Are we ripe for one? Yeah. Like even with the commercial real estate, commercial real estate is in free fall. It hasn't. Like remember when Silicon Valley Bank went under? There are a bunch of smaller banks that are on the brink of collapse, but they're printing money into those. So, and also too, my last point. Stop begging for people to die for you to get rich because you're too fucking undisciplined to invest now. You want a collapse to happen so that the value of the dollar in other countries goes to half of what the notional value is, so you can get 25% return. You just get the return now. Too many of you are waiting for like a end of the world scenario to take advantage of the market when it's like you can get 25% return now in a great company. This is not fucking 2002. This is not 1991. This market is easy, and there's more assets than ever. You don't have to be a value investor. There's a bunch of there's probably, if you want to beat the market and get 12% return, there's probably 150 companies you can easily put your money into and get 13% return.
For sure.
It's been a long time since that kind of market has been there. One of the best in history. Stop waiting for global collapse to invest. And the truth is, if the market goes to shit and 27 happens, you're not going to put $100 grand into the market.
Tell me.
You can lie. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. It sounds good. No, you're not.
It does sound good. Most people think they would, and they're not going to.
Y'all gonna freeze up the same way y'all do when y'all see a bad bitch in Miami. You're not gonna deploy the capital. I'm not playing with y'all, yo.
Yeah, it is a unique time. Like I said, you Brown Hill, and we talked about it earlier.
Shawty, you see her over there? Hey, Shawty, Troy, you see it on my... I see y'all do investments every year. Same shit. Yo, when the market gonna crash? The shit crashing while I'm on stage. Buy now. Oh, no. What if it don't go up? Okay.
500 on the line.
Then you be like, yo, I need a loan. I loaned you the motherfucking stocks to buy. Let's step back up. Media train. You don't want to do it.
When you said there's no time like this, you're talking about Roundhill. They literally created an ETF because they watched this memory sector.
Well, I'm glad you dropped that one.
Insane.
Drone ETF.
We gotta have in on this. And created an ETF for you to now invest in. Like,
tell that.
Hello. I gave y'all the prices. Yo, I don't know about the assessment of NVIDIA. Not sure. Okay. You deserve to be broke. This is a non-compassionate side of me. Because when I started, you had to search high and low for this information. You get the shit like, no, I beat most fund managers in returns. For free. Then you go, oh, I can't believe it. You charge $10 on the stock club. I can't believe it. The motherfucking show free. Listen the first time. I don't need no brand deals. Listen the first time. When you gonna get a payment plan for Red Panda? I do this shit for free.
Fuck a brand
Back
deal,
to you,
nigga.
Trevor Shot.
The freedom.
I said, fuck a brand deal. Fuck you talking about?
I can't believe you are charging the contract for information you can easily find on Investopedia. Shout to Caleb. That's my guy. Y'all ain't gonna do that. Go ahead, we're going to Investopedia. Caleb, you got a show too? Song too. Cedric Nash, we got all the heavy hitters coming. Are you going to invest them? And go in a Balenciaga or one of them stores and pay $7,000 for some garbage.
For some bullshit.
That cost them $7 to make. The choice is yours.
For bullshit.
Nobody ever complains about concerts.
At all.
Y'all paying $8,000 to see Chris Brown, $10,000 to see Jay-Z.
Not gonna happen. Hands up and where
Nobody ever complains about concert tickets. And those concert tickets are not cheap.
I'm there. Everything earned though. I'm there. But just know, I'm investing. And I'll see you there. Hopefully if you're investing.
Yeah.
Get your tickets to invest.
That's a fact. I'm definitely gonna see me there.
Palantir's long-term outlook.
I think it's funny. All the Palantir Power Rangers last year, who were my question to you is, what are you so worried about? If you loved Alex Karp and the technology last year and the year before, you should still love it now. It means it tells me that you're just looking for the short term win, and you may not believe in the company. And I've had my thoughts, and I've expressed that I think there's certain companies I would not invest in because of moral compass and ethics, right? But if you're looking at return basis, even from, let's say hypothetically, if they fell back to, let's say 119.38, that would be a great entry. Even if they got to the median of where they were this year, 156.29, it's a great return. My question is, do you believe in the company, or are you just trading for short gains? This is not a trading show. You may get some trading gems here and there. Put in chat, long term is the wave. Can I tell y'all a secret? I've only had conflict with people who didn't listen to the long term. The review videos came because you didn't buy the stocks because I told you to buy long term. I don't have enough capital. Quit effing off your money. Put into the market. So if you believe in a company last year and you loved it so much, and Alex Karp was the okay, well, you should still be invested into the company now and love it. But they are going through what most technology companies have gone through, and software or AI adjacent companies have gone through. They have seen a reduction in the price and the rate of return that they're given. But they were at $5.84 in 2023. They went to 207.52. What more do you want from Alex?
Yeah, it's been an incredible run. Here's the issue, and I think this will answer the next one as well. When you look at the valuation of Palantir,
it's always been good. Always been lofty.
It's tough. It's tough to explain how it gets there, or it's not there already, right? So it almost feels like it might be price perfection. When it had that run, it was okay. Well, you can understand, the technology. You can understand the case use. You can understand, the government contracting. But I don't know, man. It's pretty high valued. Even at 150, it's high valued. 210 was just astronomical. You knew that a pullback was coming. I'm not investing in it. I understand why people are very enthusiastic about it from a technology standpoint. It's just, I don't know, man. Shout out to Alex, but I'm not sold. I'm just not sold on Palantir. I could be wrong, and I'm okay with being wrong.
I'm not a big PE ratio guy, but the PE ratio of Palantir is 212x to 231. In comparison, Tesla's 250, 283 to 311. That should tell you something as well. But if you were pro-killing innocent people last year, be pro-innocent killing people now because your portfolio being killed.
Yeah, but you got your computer there. Pull up a comparable in that sector, right? Like RTX or something like that. Right? It's just there's a drastic difference.
200, but I ain't never even heard that.
In the same sector.
For PE? Like he said, I'd be hearing the other analysts talking about PE. 200. What?
Give me 1 second.
We might be talking about 30.
I don't
high. It's full.
I don't touch it. And if you made money off that trade, great. If you're a long-term investor, I guess you can hold it. I'm just not sold on Palantir.
200
for a
times
number of reasons.
price to earnings.
But do what you want. At some point, you gotta have a compass. 4 PE for Raytheon is 28x. Palantir is 116x. Current PE ratio for Raytheon is 39x.
30s.
Palantir is 231. You're paying for a multiple because of the tech. And also, Stock Club, y'all know I've been saying this, Anduril the one.
Yeah.
This is Apple versus Anthropic all over again. Anduril is the one.
Hardware.
On the what?
The boys really.
Hello. So.
The boys.
What do we know?
Anduril. Sheesh.
Rashad, what you think? You cooking up here. What you got in your brain? You got a money making scheme in your brain. And when y'all do the reboot of Power with Niles and AZ, I need to be on the episode, please.
Let's go.
So you know it's
Real quick.
one day we'll tell the story.
How you feel about what's a popular stock track?
I think we just had a great illustration or example of it is investing
Yeah.
in companies that you're only focused on the short term gain of them and not the long term ramifications of what they can have and the viability of the long term. Regardless of like whatever companies I've talked about, when I go to bed, I know I don't have to check them for 2 years. I don't have to worry about Stryker, Lilly, Nvidia, AMD, um, Amgen, Microsoft. So if I go to Lake Como and my laptop get dropped in the water because the driver a little bit erratic, I don't have to check Charles Schwab endlessly to see how the performance is. So I think, and now, of course, because of the crash that's coming, I keep saying there's a lot of companies that are publicly traded now that are going to get you your returns in 1 year, but they're going to average out to be 12 to 20%. You may just have gotten 100% in a year to make you hold it for 5 years. It's going to average out to be the same thing. But everyone could, and these are lessons that you had to learn the hard way. I just don't want you to learn the hard way because I want you guys to be able to multiply your wealth and get rich a lot faster. But focusing too much on hype versus the company, like even if you look now, like remember when we started the show, if we got 20%, you're a rock star. Now it seems as if people feel as if you're getting 50% return in a year, you failed. How? You 2 years worth of double.
Also, just investing, like you said, investing in stocks is how, but investing in stocks that you don't even know, or investment that you don't even know anything about. Like that was the XRP craze. Like I knew that it was crazy. I seen a bartender. Salute to all the bottle service girls. You guys make the world go round. But when I seen a bartender post XRP, that's when I knew that it was gonna fall apart. And shortly after, it did. So when you just investing in things because you just hear about it on social media and you don't even know exactly what it actually is. It's just like the Bored Ape got shout out to Justin Bieber and them, but I don't think they fully understood what they was doing. It was just so popular, everybody was doing it, and it was like, shit, I gotta get in on this. And then shortly after that, it usually falls apart.
And then y'all say I'm crazy for falling apart. No, you don't know. Maybe I do. Or I proved enough.
Also,
yeah, and it's like if you don't know the CEO, the founder, what the baseline profit margin is, what the mission of the company is, and most importantly, do you buy the fucking product? A lot of people are investing in things, and it's like you don't believe in a product because you don't use it. I know the quality of Google because I'm on YouTube every day, and the suite of products that I've been using with them since 2011. That's why I kept saying Google has executed perfectly what I wish Apple would have done. I did the calculation. If Apple would have been able to invest in OpenAI, have some of this AI stuff, they would be worth probably $8.9 trillion right now.
Hey Google, stop.
Google's smoking on the Apple pack.
Google, stop.
In terms of innovation, almost flawlessly.
Microsoft did.
Yeah.
Right? Like Microsoft was at, I mean, for the most part, the history of our show, those have been the number 1 and 2 in terms of market cap. Until Nvidia came through and knocked it out, and then Google came up there, and now Apple's back at number 2, but they got 49% of OpenAI.
Yeah.
They did it, right? We're talking about those treasure trends, that 152 billion that they had operating cash flow, that has dwindled down a little bit here. Well, you know why Microsoft has. They talked about CapEx spending. Apple's up to bat. But I think that the idea of at least knowing what the company does should be bare minimum.
You have to.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who are investing in companies and have no idea what the company does. Forget who the CEO is. At least what the company does. They just sort of, the stock went up, and it's like, okay, well, I can catch this thing. Maybe I can get 10% on this. Maybe I get 20%. I get an option for it. Maybe I get 100%. No clue what the company does. Forget fundamentals, technicals. Just saying, okay, well, I saw it went up 10%. Maybe it go up 10% tomorrow.
And everybody
at least no.
And everybody in real estate. You know Lowe's. You know Lowe's. Don't let them box you out of certain returns. Because even with that, let's take the money that you get from the stock market long term and invest into more properties if you want to do it. But also, too, I'm seeing a lot of people who were heavy in real estate. They see that the gains are better in stocks. It's not, once again, to do either or, it's to do both.
Let's do both.
Buffett has not got rid of all the properties that he's chairman over at Berkshire. So,
What's the $1 million investment portfolio?
you tell me? Yeah, I would do how you did me earlier. Pause. No, you tell me. No. Give me the real answer.
Strictly equities?
Yep. Oh, no. It doesn't have to be. Let's do 25% equities, and what's the other 75%?
Only 25%. Well, first, I would definitely advise if you have all right. Let's say you get a life insurance policy, somebody or hit the lottery or whatever, and you just have $1 million liquid. All right, pay off debt for sure. Assuming that you have no debt and you get to actually invest $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that you should have at least half in equities.
Mm-hmm.
At least half, $500,000 for sure. 10% big, 10% big.
Long term,
yeah.
gotcha.
10% big, 7% Bitcoin. Index fund for sure. S&P 500. I'm a big proponent of QQQ. You got a lot of great individual stocks if you want to have some risk. Whether it's Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, TSM. Those come to mind. Top of mind. Top 10 companies, something like that. I think the other 500,000, you gotta put $100,000 away for emergencies. Anything can happen. Maybe 50,000 if you want to be a little bit more aggressive. Real estate, you should be able to buy some level of property with $500,000 in most parts of America. Should be more than enough for a substantial down payment, whether that's a condo but multifamily investing, something that we championed early on. Shout out to MG, the mortgage guy. Talked about that early as far as having that cash flow. That's important, especially if your income is not. Sometimes you can get a lump sum of money, but you're not making a lot of money per se. So you want to keep your income down. So multifamily real estate is a great way because most of the time your number one expense is your housing. So with the multifamily strategy, you actually solve that because not only do you not have any expenses because you're getting rent, if done correctly, you can actually have a surplus where you're actually making money while still living in the property as well. So you kind of kill two birds with one stone in regards to that. And I would after that, I was watching the podcast clip with TD Jakes and that's my brother. What's his name? It's the bro. He was actually with. Oh man, what is?
I wish I knew who you were talking about.
He used to be with what's the guy that always talks about paying off debt?
Anthony O'Neill.
Anthony O'Neill.
Oh, okay.
He used to be with Dave Ramsey. Shout out to Anthony O'Neill. That's my brother.
Shout out to
But Anthony O'Neill was saying that you should only buy a car if you could pay it off in cash. And I don't necessarily subscribe to that ideology. I don't subscribe to that ideology, but it is good in that type of situation. In that type of situation where you do have a lump sum, because most people, the reason why I don't subscribe to that is most people don't have enough money to buy off a car. So it goes back to the paying off the loan or actually investing, right? Where if you got $50,000 to your name, yeah, you can spend that on paying off a car, but now you got no money to invest. Me personally, I would rather just lease a car for $800 a month and then put that other money to work in the market. But if you have a lump sum, that might be something that you need to think about because that's another expense as far as so. Yeah, that would be just some things that come to the top of my mind, and that's not including any family as far as like putting money aside for their kids' college or life insurance. This is just purely just you. Like if you're just single yourself, that would be, you got your housing taken care of, you got your long-term investment, and you got a car that's paid off, you got no debt. I think that's a recipe for success.
Do you know if they got their first million, what they should do? Go to ianinvest.com, and if you want to know 2 years ahead of time what is going to emerge in the market, because no one actually knows when Tim Cook's going to retire, but I think 2 years ago. Or all these geopolitical issues, or where stocks are going to fall 30 to 40%. And if you want to know exactly and precisely where to get in so you can be wealthy and free like me.
Prediction market.
Ianinvest.com. Join the Red Panda Stock Club.
That boy has been spot on for a lot of fucking things. Lost count.
Everybody has made money. I'm watching this show for sure.
For sure.
Easy. We don't met too many people that started with zero. I'm up 100,000.
1.5, 2 billion, 3 billion.
I'm up 1 million. Like I mean, that's the everyday person that is a teacher, that is in sanitation, that's making that type of money. There's no. I mean, if everybody else is doing that, I'm doing that. It's not even a question. I'm doing it.
When we end the show for good, are we gonna do a retirement tour, or are we gonna do how I want to do it, just be abrupt as hell? It's the last one. I love y'all. Thank y'all for coming out.
Yo, join us tonight. Last one.
I love y'all so much. I love y'all, my heart. Which one?
Go out like Bron. No victory tour.
Red Pan, I'm never leaving you. Listen, I'm feeling like Iceman. He may need to freeze the market up and see what because I know what the GDP of me is. Well, let's just take a little break.
Iceman on the way. Be careful.
On the way. Shout out to the boy.
Yo, Iceman on the way, yo.
Iceman on the way, man.
Yo, the 6th, we back. Iceman on the way.
Man, tap in. We got Jada tomorrow. EYL University.
Thursday.
Thursday, we got Jada. We got Blackout on Wednesday, 9 o'clock. EYL University, I got a financial planning call, I think.
Oh, yeah, Friday, yeah.
Friday, I got a financial planning call. And shout out to EYL University, like I said, man. The numbers speak for themselves. The amount of people that put a green jacket, screenshots. This isn't no. I ain't gonna say that. Shout out to her, man.
Now can't do that, man. Let's keep the main thing. Shout out to everybody that got their green jacket, well deserved, well earned. And I'm sure there's plenty of others of you that have not put the screenshot up yet, but send it so we can acknowledge you. And please, just know, stay tuned. We got something for y'all. Stay tuned.
But the proof is in the screenshot.
Yo, shout out to everybody that was in AMD. Hit an all-time high. I text Shotty. I'm like, yo, somebody text on Dave Shanks.
I was trying to
Share the portfolio's doing, man.
Shout out to y'all who try and rewrite history like I said that shit on the first episode of Market Mondays too. I see you clip that, my boy.
Y'all was fighting me though. Y'all was fighting me. But I think that's the best part. Because even if we don't agree, somebody's gonna take something from it and say, you know what, I like that viewpoint or that perspective was good. But at the end of the day, did you invest?
Yeah, invest.
Yeah.
It'll be too much chatter back and forth until we get to that natural conversation.
Yeah, Jada Waiter.
Prudent Mom, she said my kids invested in AMD.
Jada Waiter.
Prudent Mom been at day one. She been here since day one. Shout out to you.
Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about direction of what Lisa should do, but y'all gonna quit rewriting history.
At least she's doing an incredible job. Shout out to everybody that's in AMD. Shout out to everybody that's in Broadcom. Shout out to everybody that's in Caterpillar. GE Vernova reports tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Yeah, it's a big week. Did you see the numbers on Tesla?
I definitely did.
So they were saying about 33% of the cars that were purchased were actually bought by Elon.
Whoa.
For robotics. For the robo-taxi. So if you take those numbers out of the actual,
if technically, I keep telling y'all, there's talk about black swans. There are 3 or 4 Ponzi's that will be revealed. But if the companies are exchanging assets to create the valuation, by the time the valuation is there, it's too late. Rockefeller did this. If you study history, Rockefeller had a number of entities one being the American education system, that he intertraded assets amongst the companies to create an empire. Yeah. And it's not sass in the comments, it's intelligent. It would behoove you to, just ascertain some of the things I'm putting down so it can make you friendly. You all appreciate you so much.
Pick up what I'm putting down. And can you please give us the word of the day again? For those who are joining a little late.
Chimera. I like the kind definition, not the, the evil version of it, but it's being a combination of many things.
The combination of many things. Oh man. Yeah. All right. Zayd, happy birthday to Zayd. Shout out to Zayd. It's her birthday today. 420. Shout out to all my 420 people who are enjoying this in a different spirit right now. And hopefully you've taken your notes with diligence. I feel you. Shout out to 420.
Yes, sir. So, all right, yeah, make sure you tap in. We got Blackout on Wednesday. We got EYO on Thursday. I got my financial planning call for EY University on Friday. We got NVIDIA on Wednesday.
Yep.
It's a pretty jam-packed week. So
they said the boss man's in town.
Who? Jensen?
Yeah. He's in town.
Set it up.
Like the Jacket Memorials.
Never know.
Yeah, who knows?
And one day we gotta talk about some of these answers my guy's giving.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah. We should talk about that. That interview was very telling about where we're headed.
I won't talk about it this year, but 1 in 9 or something like that. No, and to the person in the comments, no, it's not a hit dog hollering. I just like to engage with the audience and then play good cop, bad cop. If you see top of the show, like last week when Sean was bad cop, ooh, shit shot him, and he's nice this week, and then I was nice last week, and I'm an asshole this week. Ebbs and flows in the market. Media training. Back to you, George. Cross-pollination of audiences, though. Key business lesson I learned.
Yes.
Cross-pollination of audiences.
Hey, there's a business and there's money being made everywhere, so we gotta.
Sure.
You know? Y'all be good. Y'all be blessed. Reach out, text somebody, check on your loved ones. Pray for everybody's health and success and wealth, man. It's been real. We'll catch y'all on Wednesday. Levels up.
Y'all want to tell you the next CEO who's going to get fired or no? Save it for next week. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless. Good night. Peace.
My fault. That's what it was. Let me see. that's it. Fuck. It's 10:47. That's how much time I got to sleep. You get me? Booty calls. I'm on a mission. Infinity.